uh, the thought behind this was to do programs uh, for each and every subject and go back to the basics and talk about the basics of each subject. We have done already, I think, 6 programs on it. It is the 7th one. We have done a program on basics of Excel. We have done 2 programs uh, on GST. We have done a program DPDP Act also. We have done one. This is second program of DPDP Act. We'll be continuing to do, and I through this program I also invite others to kindly suggest other topic as well where we will be you want us to do this back to basic programs. In months to come we are planning, like ITR season is going to start, so we'll be doing programs on ITR tax audit as well, the basic how to fill ITR, how to fill the tax audit, the basic one of those also. We are also planning for labor laws. The day before yesterday the rules of labor laws, new labor code has been notified, so we'll be doing programs on labor laws as well. And for the information of our delegate, our other regular seminars are lined up on 15th, 16th of this month. We are having national conference on GST. We already have more than 450 delegates who have registered for that. Those of you who are interested can be part of that. We are having our second RRC residential refresher course at Hyderabad, which is scheduled on 5th, 6th, and 7th of June. Then on 12th and 13th of June, we are having a growth summit. First of its kind summit in Calcutta. It is happening. The thought behind it is a 2-day summit. How we can grow our firm to next level. What are the hindrances which are stopping us to grow our firm? What are the technical skills? What are the networking rules? Around that, we have developed a nicely curated 2-day event. So those of you who are interested can be part of that event. And we also invite suggestions from you all. Physical event, for the physical events also, which event you want us to do, on what topic you want us to come up with events, kindly suggest so that we can curate best of the events and programs for our members. Once again, thank you everyone for joining. Thank you Vanika for consenting to the speaker of the day, and thank you Asmita for being the coordinator of the day. I request Hariramji for his address.
Good afternoon, Vanika and Asmita, and all the delegate participants in this today's Wisdom Wednesday program. This is the 7th program in the series, and the feedback from all of your participants is very good, and all the cooperation extended by all you faculties who are deliberating, as well as the coordinators who have consented to coordinate the programs. With the help of all of you, we are able to complete the series up to this 7th, and we want to continue it because it has multiple benefit to all the stakeholders. The first one is the delegates who are attending the program. They are getting in this good medicine in small capsules, the good updates in small capsules. So in a smaller program of say 1 hour program, they can come to know the whole thing about one particular subject on a day. And on different week, we are giving a different idea of the different subject. So that will be a Pandora box of all the knowledge and all, which will be helpful them for their upgrading their knowledge, and as well as get help in their respective practices or wherever they are. If they are in these jobs also, they can apply all these sessions to upgrade the basics of different aspects and upgrade themselves and be connected with us. So thank you, and keep connected with us, and attend our regular programs also, as our chairman just announced the series of programs. So certainly we can, with confidence, we can say that all these programs are value addition programs. So keep connected, keep attending. Thank you.
And one more thing, friends, on 21st and 22nd of next month, June, the Student National Conference is scheduled. Again, it is a big gala event for the student in Calcutta. So kindly inform your students your articles and motivate them. Those of you who are interested, kindly allow them 2 days leave to attend this program and ask them to register for the program.
That is on Saturday and Sunday?
Saturday, Sunday.
20th and 21st of June.
So over to Asmita to take this forward.
Thank you so much, the EIRC team chairman, sir. Yeah, I see that the most active wing of ICAI is EIRC. So I really congratulate that we are part of your team. and I want to thank for giving me this opportunity. So good evening, everyone. Very warm welcome to all the respected dignitaries of ICAI, my dear professional colleagues and respected participants here. So it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to today's session, Wisdom Wednesday, Back to Basics. It is an initiative aimed at revisiting fundamental concepts and aligning the current professional practices. Today's topic is very important as that is the data protection and data privacy for CA practices. As digitization is increasing, so data privacy and the protection is a very critical area, and compliances and also our responsibility. As chartered accountants, we are really dealing with sensitive information of the clients. We are privileged to have with us our esteemed speaker, CA Vanika Choudhary. She is one of the distinguished professionals of our institute with multiple certified courses from ICAI. She has completed AICA Level 1 Diploma in Information System Audit and also with the Certified Corporate Social Responsibility Professional. She is presently partnered at VCH and Company. Her specialization in data protection and privacy advisory with a focus on implementation and compliance under the Digital Protection Personal Data Protection Act 2023. She has been advising many organizations, including startups and MSMEs, on data governance framework, privacy risk assessment, and data cycle controls. She possesses experience in statutory audit and specialization in technology-driven compliances and scalable processes. In addition to her advisory role, she is also an artificial intelligence and advanced Excel trainer for conducting impactful business-oriented training programs focused on automations and reporting efficiency and AI-powered workflows. We are very truly grateful for your valuable time, madam, and for joining us today to share your knowledgeable and practical insights for all of us. I'm confident that this session will be very enriching and beneficial to all of us. So without wasting time, I hand over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for reading out my profile and for giving me such a gracious welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone present here today. So I think your presence here today also establishes the fact that you know something about data protection, you know something about data privacy, and you know that it is important to you. And hence you all are here today. Now, before I move into the details of the act, I feel there is one thing that becomes very important. It is knowing what exactly is personal data. Today we are going to discuss what is Digital Personal Data Protection Act. So if we go by the name, we first need to know what exactly is the digital personal data. So is there anyone from the audience who would like to tell us what do they understand by the term digital personal data, or is it just like any other data that we have? Anyone? Can they speak, or are they on mute?
Vanika, it is a webinar format, so we'll be able to
Okay.
interact with chats only.
Okay. Thank you, Priya. Okay, so for this, I generally play a game because I think learning should be fun. So I'm presenting certain cases here. And of course, as it will be in a chat format, you can type your messages in the chat itself. So Ravi Shankar ji has said that it refers to personal digital data that is collected and stored on any website. So I would like to elaborate here. Personal data, you're absolutely right, it is personal digital data, but it is not only restricted to collected or stored on a website. It could be on any digital system, and it is across the life cycle of the data. So it is not really restricted to website. Even if it is in your offline server or maybe in a system in your office, that is also considered digital data. And whether it is a personal data or not, it will become more clear once I think we play this game. So I generally like playing games to understand concepts better. So here are a few options that will help you understand whether a data is considered a personal data or not. Before we move into this game, I would like to give you one hint. The hint is that the data should be identifiable to an individual. Now, individual can include a person, it can also include a business, it can include a body corporate. So ultimately, it should be related to someone. You can identify someone from that. Like supposingly, if you had to identify me, you could identify me through my name, or you may identify me through my qualification, right? So it should be identifiable to a particular person. So we have the first option, that is client GST registration certificate. In this case as well, we can identify a particular organization through this particular GST registration. Hence, it is considered a personal data. Now, if I give you like what is the total GST collection of India for the financial year of 25-26? Do you think you can identify a particular business from this? Can you identify a particular person from this? No. So this will be considered as a non-personal data. Now, a lot of time it happens that our clients text us on WhatsApp asking us what to do. We have got this tax notice. So will this be considered a personal data? I would like your input on this one. Will a WhatsApp conversation with a client regarding a tax notice be considered a personal data? So audience is saying yes, it is considered a personal data. You're absolutely right. It is also personal data because you can identify it to a business. So yes. Then average industry EBITDA margin report. So here you can identify an industry. So is it anyone? Yes. EBITDA margin report of industry? No. Can anyone say why yes if someone is saying yes and why no if someone is saying no? Anyone would like to elaborate on that? Absolutely right. So industry itself is a macro concept. Now, I don't know how many of you have done the EIL L1 course or something like that. In that, we are taught about reduction on anonymization. We change the data, personal data, to something that does not really identify to a particular person or industry. So then it becomes an anonymized data. And in this case as well, since it is a statistical data, we can say so it is a non-personal data. Employee ID linked to payroll. So of course it is a personal data. Then monthly office electricity consumption. Do you think it is a personal data or a non-personal data? So it is talking about monthly office electricity consumption. So let's see what this is. I think this is non-personal. So this is a non-personal data. So you can say that maybe the electricity consumption refers to one particular office and hence it is considered to be personal, right? But that is not the case. Again, it is an anonymized data. It is units, more like a statistical information. IP address used to log in into audit portal. Again, it is personal data because it can be linked to your particular device. So again, ICAI exam statistics. So you're going to put it in non-personal data. Now, salary sheets shared for tedious computation. So if we talk about salary sheets, so what do you think it is? Personal, right? Okay. So this is also personal data. Now, what if we talk about sector-wise GST default trends? So what do you think? This is statistical data, personal data, industry trend, what? Non-personal, absolutely right. Then we have CCTV footage of visitors entering office. Now this becomes very critical. So what are your views about CCTV footage of visitors entering office? Anyone? Non-personal? Personal. Any more answers? whether it is personal or non-personal. So a lot of you are calling it personal and some of you called it non-personal. I would like to highlight that the main genesis of the DPDP Act is from, ma'am, it does not depend on the situation. It is actually considered a personal data. The main genesis of DPDP Act is from the concept of right to privacy, which was given in the Puttaswamy judgment. It was said that right to privacy itself is a fundamental right under the right to life fundamental right. So to be private, you need to be private in the public space as well. And in fact, this is not a practice in India, but if you go to Dubai or some other place, you don't, if you turn your back camera on, there will be a light or something that turns on in your device if it is bought from Dubai or somewhere, so that the other person knows that you're recording them. Similarly, like you cannot have personal CCTV footages and all of that are state governed to maintain that privacy in their case. So your CCTV footage, or even if it is of visitors, it is considered a personal data. Now, commodity price index, again, statistics, income tax return of proprietor. I'm just moving fast, and we'll discuss the important ones as they come. State-wise inflation percentage, non-personal. Client onboarding KYC documents. These are not only personal, but at times very sensitive as well. Then we have annual revenue growth of listed companies. Again, statistics. Attendance log captured through biometric. So attendance log, even if it was in digital format and not through biometric, would be considered a personal data. So average turnaround time for statutory audits. Again, this is like a statistics. Laptop login history of employees, personal data. Total tax invoices issued in West Bengal, again, non-personal. Email containing investment declaration proofs, personal. Average age of tax persons, statistics, so non-personal. Partners capital account statement, personal, because again, you can identify it to a particular partner. Then total number of audits completed this year, again, statistics. So non-personal. So I think now you have got a rough idea of what a personal and what a non-personal data is, right? Annual growth data, so it is again a statistics. If you say like person of company, then it can be a identifiable point. But if you say industry, then it becomes a non-personal, completely non-personal. So you have to check this on a data to data basis. There's no hard and fast rule, but again, it will depend. And if I say that a company, maybe an unlisted company, grew at 10% year on year, but you need another information as well. Like you may talk about a company in the mining sector, which is based in Kolkata and maybe has an office in Salt Lake. So that office is growing on a 10% year on year. So in that case, it becomes identifiable data, and then it will be considered a personal data. Individually, it may not be considered a personal data. So there are two things that I want to clarify here. Number one, there are some data, maybe your Aadhaar card, maybe your phone number, maybe your email, which is directly identifiable. So it is a direct personal data. But there are other data which, when brought together, can make a person identifiable. So maybe someone does not know you, know your address or whatever, but they know maybe how you look. So if they combine that information and are able to identify you, then that also becomes a personal data. So that was the basic about personal data. Now, before we go forward, there's one more concept that comes here. It is the concept of sensitive personal data. Now, what do you think is sensitive personal data? Anyone? Does anyone know about sensitive personal data and how is it different from personal data? Is it like a subset of personal data, or is it same as personal data, or is it like a particular categorization of personal data? Anyone? Which is capable of being exploited. This is a very good point that you have made, sir. The exploitation of the data, which can cause really big harm to a person is generally considered as a sensitive personal data. Absolutely right. The biometrics, or maybe someone's health data. If supposedly someone has AIDS, and if the general public comes to know about his or her condition, then you will see that they might distance themselves from them. It will cause adverse effect on them, whether physically or mentally. So those kind of data are generally considered sensitive personal data. Do you think financial data is considered sensitive personal data? Do you think it is categorized as sensitive personal data? Absolutely right. Yes. So financial data is also considered as sensitive personal data because a lot of decisions, a lot of time depends on the financial data. So it is also considered sensitive. So as CA firms, we handle the most sensitive information in the form of maybe PAN cards, bank statements, income tax return, payroll sheet. Now, at times when I look at bank statements of my clients, I think, okay, this is what my client prefers. This is the kind of habitual spending that they are doing. Maybe this is where they like to go out a lot. So I see is I think we have access to their life in such ways that maybe their own family members may not be knowing. Their families may not be knowing that they went out for a trip, but again, we have the bank statements and we know that. So for us as CAs, it becomes a bigger responsibility to keep that data safe. So DPDP Act gives three important definitions. The very first definition here is of the data principle. So data principle is nothing but the individual behind the data. Means if you talk about me, like supposedly if you have my PAN number, so I am the data principal. So the implicit trust clients place in your firm is now a strict legal obligation. So how you handle their financial lives must radically change today because it is the most sensitive data. And why is it more important today? Well, the DPDP Act was passed in the year 2023 and it came out with rules in the phased manner. So now on 13 November 2025, the DP Board of India is active. So it has come out with notifications regarding that there will be 4 members, that they are the ones who will govern all the rules. They have the rule making power, they have the judicial powers over it. So that process or that fundamental part of the act is already present. So what do you need to do? And why is it so important for a CA firm to maintain data privacy? Now, let me tell you, in the eyes of law, you are considered a data fiduciary. So, what do you understand by the term data fiduciary? So, who do you think can be a data fiduciary? Can it be anyone? Or is there a particular criteria to identify a data fiduciary? Anyone? So, let me tell you, there are 2 specific terms which are used when you define a data fiduciary. The first one being the one who determines the purpose of data collection, and the second one being the process through which the process for data purpose. So, what is a data purpose here becomes very important. Like supposingly, if I'm a school and I have to collect data from for my students for maybe an admission form. So, firstly, the purpose is taking admission of students. So that is the purpose. And now I determine what shall be the process, whether the data of the students will come through website or will I send selling agents on ground to market the school, or will it be through an automated AI generated process? Will I use SEO or something like that to process the data? Will I forward or outsource the processing of admission forms to third parties? So I take that decision. So that means I'm a data fiduciary. Similarly, in your case, when a client comes to you and gives their data, you determine what to do with the data. You're going to file GST with that data, or you're going to do accounting with that data. So the purpose is determined by you, of course, in conjunction with the consent of your client, but how it will be processed, which article will be doing it, where will the folder be saved. So all these decisions are taken by you. So you and your firm becomes the data fiduciary. And now the third concept that comes here is data processor. So who do you think will be a data processor? In case of a CA firm, will it be ICAI? Is the ICAI a data processor for us? Anyone? Who can be a data processor? No. So who is a data processor for a CA firm? The one who acts on fiduciary's instructions. Anyone else? Anyone else? Do you use any software, maybe for return filing or something else? Do you use like a CRM software, maybe a return filing software? Yes. So your software basically become your data processor. So supposingly I'm using a software and a data breach happens, not on my end, but on the end of the data processor. Supposingly I was using Saral software. I think a lot of CAs are using it. So if I use Saral software and maybe their cloud got hacked or something, and my data was leaked, so who will ultimately be responsible for the data breach? Will it be me or will it be Saral? Anyone? So is it Saral software or me who will be responsible for the breach? So you're saying both. More, anyone else? Me? Anyone else? Anyone else? So in case the act specifically says that you may outsource the process, but you cannot outsource the liability. So in case a breach happens on part of the data processor, you are responsible. The CA firm will be ultimately responsible. But what you can do is you can get into binding legal contracts with your data providers or data processors to reduce the liability that comes to you. It can so happen that if a particular breach happens from the end of the third party processor, you can activate that contract that this happened from your end, and hence, if any penalty arises because of this thing, you can get into a separate contract for that. But the act will hold you liable for this, not the data processor. So let's move forward. As I said, you cannot outsource your liability. If third-party vendor leaks data, both penalizes your firm for failing to protect the client, irrespective of client mistakes or vendor failures. The legal buck stops with you. So, as a CA firm, we have our clients who send us details on WhatsApp. In fact, it happens like I also share my details. Okay, this is the information or this particular report I've got from my client. I send it to my staff on WhatsApp and they process it. So do you think this is considered a data breach? Yes or no? Can this be considered a data breach? This can be considered a data breach, right? Yes, it is considered a data breach because there is no policy for this. I do not have control over who has my access to my data once I send it through unofficial channels. And if it may so happen that my staff may misuse this data, may use to maybe take over the clients or something like that can happen. And hence it is also considered a data breach. Now this brings me to a very important definition. What is data breach? Anyone? Just think what all can be considered as data breach, what all scenarios. Okay, let me give you a few scenarios. Supposedly, you may be having a Google Drive, and there was a file that was shared with you. So, of course, unauthorized data access, someone from external to the organization or someone from within your organization took access to the data even when they were not supposed to. So that is unauthorized data access. Now, supposingly, I tell you that as a principal of an organization, you wanted to sign an audit report, and for that, you wanted to check a particular data. And with that data was supposed to be in the audit file. But because of some reason, maybe someone removed your access or did something like that, whereas you were the main data fiduciary in that case. So will that be considered a data breach? You did not have access to the data when you needed it. So will that also be considered as data breach? हमने अनऑथराइज एक्सेस तो बोला कि डेटा ब्रीच है, बट जब चाहिए था तभी एक्सेस नहीं मिला, क्या वो डेटा ब्रीच है? Well, let me tell you, the definition of data breach is very wide, and it includes unavailability of data when needed. लीकेज वगैरह तो है ही, वो तो आम जनता भी जानती है कि वो डेटा ब्रीच है, बट जब अवेलेबल होना चाहिए था तभी नहीं हुआ, जिस फॉर्म में अवेलेबल होना चाहिए था तब वो भी नहीं है, तो all those are also considered as data breach. Yes, employee sharing user data without authorization. So not only without authorization, half the time CA firms don't even know which employee has access to which data. So the convenience has scattered the data in so many ways that it is becoming difficult to organize our data and to have control over where the data is going. And so this DPDP Act becomes even more important. I'll not only say from the perspective of client compliance, but I also feel that we all are scared. Like there are firms, especially the big firms, who got ransomware attacks recently because they had such big data and it was so important. Similarly, down the line, there will be AI-based attacks. So the perpetrator will not have to do much. They can only give a command to AI and any system can be hacked, ransomware attacks can be there. So hacking and all these will become even more easier. So how do we as data fiduciaries safeguard ourselves? What control should we have in place? How do we ensure that there's discipline in our organization, that the data does not go out? There are policies which are followed. So it not only improves the compliance, but also the working and the trust that a client is going to put on your organization. So on those fronts as well, DPDP Act I feel becomes very important and will definitely make our life easier in that case. So these are few examples like communication leak. So receiving client documents via WhatsApp or maybe hardware leaks. So the staff may download the personal data on their laptops and then you don't even know till how long they have access to it. Then vendor leak using third-party processor without valid legally binding DPDP contract. So any accidental disclosure, sharing, loss of access across these channels constitute an actionable personal data breach under the Act. So going forward, what should we do? Now we discussed what are the problems, what are the breaches, what can happen, but what does the Act tell us to do becomes very important. Now for a CA firm, before, at least that is a practice in my firm, that I share the scope of work with my client and I get it signed from my client that this is a particular scope that we have agreed on. If anything increases, we'll further increase the scope of work. So that is a written communication I used to have with them. And for audit engagements, there was engagement letter. But do you think it will be enough these days? Well, the Act asks us to take specific consent which specifies the purpose for which you're collecting data, what data are you going to collect, for how long you're going to retain it, in case they want any information regarding their data, who should they communicate with? So their mail ID or their contact number should also be there. What is the retention period? For how long are you going to retain the data? So all those information need to be put in a consent form. So the Act has specified that you need a consent form, which needs to be very specific. It should be unconditional. Okay, let me ask you this question. So when you visit a website, a public website, You might have seen a small pop-up comes up for cookies, like accept all cookies, mandatory cookies only. What do you do in general? So what do you do with those cookies? Like, do you accept all, or do you specifically go and only necessary cookies or something like that? Anyone? Or have you not seen that notice only? So either you accept or you choose whether you want to or not. Mandatory cookies only, right? You reject all necessary cookies. So again, that is an intentional thing that you're doing. So similarly, the consent forms have to be that intentional that the person goes, reads all those things, and then gives a consent that is intentional. Now, in the consent form, we either need to have a tick box which says that, okay, I'm giving consent. It cannot be a pre-ticked one in which you have to remove. So, in case you see cookies on websites which comes with pre-ticked marketing cookies, so you can complain against them from 2027 onwards. So, that is a power that you have now. So, this is uh, a basic like consent form, like clear affirmative action should be there. It should also specify the purpose. Then it should be unconditional form, informed. Must offer notice in multiple languages and requests. So there are 22 Indian languages, and your consent form must be available in those. So for a small CA form, mostly our clients understand English. So even if we have in English and the person who's giving consent is comfortable with that, so it can be considered a valid consent. But down the line, it may so happen that a client was not comfortable with the English language. So the law mandates that you have to make it available in the 22 languages that are mentioned in Schedule 8 of the Constitution. So that also you have to do. So what is the new rule? So firstly is the intake where you collect the data, then you process the data, and then comes the part of mandatory erasure. So you have to erase personal data immediately once the specified purpose is served or the statutory requirement for retention of data is complete. Like supposing for a CA firm, you may have to hold data for peer review or maybe for other statutory compliances like income tax, MCA. So you hold data for those purposes. So till the time the law mandates you to retain it, you have to retain those data. Otherwise, you must delete it. And also, a lot of time it happens that a client comes, maybe takes a quote from us, and then leaves. What do you do with their data? So, should you retain that data or should you delete that data? Anyone? A client just came to you, and maybe for master checking that whether you want to work with that particular client or not, but you do not do any kind of work with that client ultimately because maybe after you gave a quote, they did not agree with it. So so it may not be necessary for you to retain that data because ultimately no work was provided to them. You might have to delete that data. So you need an internal policy for that purpose. For how long you want to retain that data, what should be the internal policies, and it should be in compliance with the existing laws in force. So the next is, so for client onboarding, as I said, we had generated engagement letters. Now we need consent. Now for document transfer, we were using WhatsApp or maybe email threads. Again, this is risky because a lot of organizations also have DLP in force, in which if the data is going externally, so that system is flagged. So that is better. Or you can have encrypted client portals. For data life cycle, we used to keep or hold the data just in case if it becomes useful someday. But now you have to have a retention or eraser policy in place. Now in software vendors, we used to blindly trust. If a software was meeting our requirements, I don't think we check anything else, whether it is secure, where is their cloud storage. But now we should have legal binding contracts with the data processors and also get to know a little more about the privacy policies that they have in place. So how does it benefit us? So there are two things. So One is that you comply out of fear. The fear has to be there. That firstly, the penalty is up to 250 crore for each and every breach. Second, in case a breach happens, so you have to identify, so you have to notify the same to the board and also to the data principals. So in case you fail to notify them, again there's a penalty of 200 crores. And if you are a habitual, uh, if you are, if there are 2 to 3 breaches that have happened to you already, and still you are not fixing your system, in that case, the government has the right to block your business. Like it may stop organizations from interacting with your organization digitally. So it has that kind of powers as well. But on the plus side, I see that you will get better clients because of better trust you put in. Now, a lot of CA firms are also doing offshore work. And I know they are very strict about the access that they give in the system. So if you're a DPDP compliant firm, don't you think you will attract more opportunities in that particular area as well? Secondly, it can prevent devastating reputational damage. Now, supposedly, if you come to know that there was a data breach at the Amazon, so of course, you will be a little cautious next time you buy something from Amazon. Currently, we just accept it that it is a reality and we don't consider our data to be that valuable. But down the line, it should be intentional and more aware. Then again, we are secure for long term loyalty by proving that we protect our client data and wealth. So, can CA firms realistically comply? So, to be honest, I consider it to be a big yes. But do you need a very big budget? Absolutely not. We do not need a very big IT budget or maybe a specific IT team for implementing this, but you need to put disciplined, systematic frameworks and maybe some kind of automation in your organization to make this possible. Like supposingly, you have the paperwork, so you can have internal policies on how to share data. What are the password policies? How many of you have gone and checked when was the last time your employees had changed their password, or are they sharing email IDs? Are there common email IDs which have declined data and is being shared among too many of them? So the paper must be there. Second is some technological safeguards. Like you can put access control in place. Only those who need access to a particular file should be able to access them. And then we can also have operational discipline, which not only comes from making people aware of their actions, but also from training them. So we need to make them or train them, okay, this is a good practice, this is a bad practice. So this should absolutely be avoided. So these kind of things can help us realistically comply with this. And trust me, DPDP Act can be implemented very easily. It is not something that is very out of the box. So here are a few things that you can do to bulletproof your paperwork. First is engagement letters. So you must update all your clients' agreement to include explicit, specific, and unambiguous consent. So not only for the incoming ones, but also for the existing clients, you should do this. Then vendor agreements, you should renegotiate contracts with your IT, cloud, payroll software providers to legally bind them as data processors. And lastly, you should have a erasure policy in place with create a document, a formal internal policy for systematically purging the data of departing clients. And then for digital system or the digital environment, as I already told, you can have password managers on Office, access control tools, audit logs. So we can have need-based controls, audit tools, encryption and masking. Okay, I have a question here. Like supposingly, uh, nowadays we all are using AI, right? We also tell our articles to use AI. So if they had to draft a partnership agreement on AI, what do you think they will do? They will take all the data of partnership firm, their partners, the profit sharing ratio, the capital, their address, and they will all put it in AI and then tell AI to draft a partnership deed. So do you think that is permissible, or is it also considered a data breach? Anyone? Is this kind of thing practiced in your organization? It's a data breach, right? So yes, it is a data breach, and it is a very big data breach, because once the data goes into AI, you never know where and how it is going to be reused. So there should be a policy, a good AI governance policy in your organization, which says that maybe you should not put the personal data, just get it drafted, just get the partnership deed drafted from the AI, and then put the personal data. So these kind of things need to be, your articles need to be made aware. They need specific training for this purpose. So we need to make that happen in our organization. So encryption and masking. And then train your team. So you should have a designated authority. So legally publish the contact information of a designated internal officer. So if there are any client-related grievance, then you should ban and use unsecure channels like WhatsApp or maybe spam kind of emails. Then mandatory training for all employee partner and article assistant. So this is one thing. And I also wanted to discuss, 1 second. So I think these are few things that we can do in an organization instantly. First is need-based access controls. Like if you're saving client data on your Google Drive even, so give data access to only those staff which are actually working on that file. So again, policy that we have done, consent forms. So I feel the best way to collect consent is by using the CRM. Like if you're using any kind of client management software, just ask them to build a consent module for you so that you can collect consent as and when you're collecting the data. So vendor agreements with software company, employee training. So endpoint tools are there. Like there should be devices which should not have pen drive access. Or maybe there are some devices which should not have internet access. Or even when you are using like email or Gmail, it could be like a workspace kind of thing which has better encryption and better security. Like supposedly if you use @gmail.com or if you use any organizational name, one that is the Google Workspace. So Google Workspace provides you better security compared to @gmail.com. So these are few things that you can consider. Then you can use licensed softwares. I think as CA firm, this is one of the biggest problem that we face today. Half the CA firms don't even have licensed Microsoft Office. How many of you are using pirated versions of it? Do you use pirated Microsoft in your office? I know a lot of people do. मेरे ऑफिस में भी हो सकते हैं मे बी एक दो सिस्टम पे. Do you know what is the biggest flaw or what is the biggest drawback of using that? Half of us are not aware of this, but let me tell you, if you use an original version, you get a lot of security updates and updates, which is just pirated softwares, maybe Microsoft or something like that. Pirated, basically, off the market copy of the original software, which is maybe available for 10-15% of what the original software costs. So this is a very small investment that you can make, at least in the most important systems in your office. So what happens, like in original Windows, you get updates very regularly, sometimes even 3 times a week. Why is that? Because the hackers are constantly attacking the system, and there are loopholes which are then coming to the forefront. So what the patches do is it rectifies those mistakes or it covers those parts for the attackers. Now, when you're using a pirated version, you don't get updates as such. There are hardly any updates. And once something has already been like they have only copied a particular section or till a particular update, right? The pirated softwares, not the whole or the new thing. So your system becomes very, very vulnerable. Like if an attack happens, maybe the original version will not be affected that much as the pirated version. So please use licensed software wherever possible. If you're using like a pirated version now, upgrade to a licensed version, especially for the most important systems in your office. Again, use edit and audit logs wherever possible. Like for even if I maintain my dashboards on Excel, I make an Excel macro to keep just the audit logs of it. use password managers. You can also use Google Password Manager, Bitwarden, or something like that. And again, DLP tools which are available in the market. So is there any question that you have regarding DPDP Act from me that you would want me to elaborate on or something like that? If you have any questions, you can let me know. Anyone? So if there are no questions, then I think we can end the meeting now. That is it from my side. Format of what, sir? For a client consent, please drop me a mail, sir. I have one for my own form that I had created, so I can share that. So I have my contact details are here, so you can use that and drop me a message and I will share it with you. But I feel that the consent is made dependent on the purpose, so it has to change purpose to purpose. Even if like you maybe took consent for accounting work, but there's a scope creep. Now you have to get into more details or you need to collect more personal data. So again, you need to give a revised consent for that particular data as well. So consent has to be a little flexible in that case. So primary concerns as such is it is like a communication that you give to your client, what kind of personal data you're collecting, for how long. So what is the purpose for what you're collecting it? In case any data breach happens, the law also says that in case your client wants to know what data you have regarding them, so you must be able to provide them or let them know about it. So if they want to make such queries, so they should know which officer or which person to contact, the retention period. So these things are considered. Let me show you one consent that I have. It is working. This is one of the forms that I've made for consent generation. So in DPDP, we do a data mapping. So this is for collecting that kind of data. So as I've said, identification of the data fiduciary, which happens to be my firm in this case, then the purpose for which I'm collecting the data. So the nature of personal data that I'm going to collect. For this particular processing, I do not need to collect a lot of personal data. I just need some personal data about the client who I'm going to serve. So for that reason, I have not elaborated on the personal data that I'm going to collect. So what shall be the manner of processing and use? This can be more detailed. And again, data sharing and disclosure, if I'm going to share it with some third party, or will I be sharing it with a data processor? So that also comes here. Data storage and safeguards, what have you put in place? So data retention policy, again, it has to be reasonable. So what are the rights that your data principal has? So it can request you to access information that they have provided, or they may seek correction or updating their records. They can also withdraw consent at any time. So once they withdraw, you have to stop processing of that data in a reasonable way. Again, request erasure of the personal data subject to legal obligations, and whom to contact in case anything they require. So I've given my mail ID here as well for withdrawal of consent. You may withdraw your consent at any time. Upon such withdrawal, the processing will cease, except where processing is required to comply with legal obligation or enforce contractual rights. Then again, authorizations. So I'm collecting few data from them. So I've given those data. And then consent confirmation that they have read it. Again, as you can see, it is unconditional and they have to give it intentionally. So they have to tick here to give consent. And then I confirm that I'm authorized to provide, since I'm also asking for an authorized representative. So this is like one of the consent forms that you can have. Client sharing the entire tally data through email or cloud service. Is this data covered? Yes, this data is covered, sir. But you can take proper consent that you will be collecting data, and then you can have safeguards in place, like how the data is coming into your office. Even if it is coming through like email, you can have a more secure workspace. Like you can use maybe business Microsoft or business mail IDs of Gmail. So those are much more encrypted and much more secure compared to the basic ones. So those safeguards you have to put in place. We cannot take ourselves out of the system, but we have to mold the system in such a way that it becomes secure. Then again, you have to determine how the data is stored in your tally. All have access to it, because a lot of time people have open systems. Like if you have access to one tally file, you can have access to all tally files, because it is all in the same folder at times. So for that, you can have access controls, maybe folder access controls in place. So all that you have to keep in mind and make policies and systems for that. And it will depend organization to organization. And if you want, we can discuss this further, like on a one-to-one basis as well. Any more questions? Or else we can ask Ashmita ma'am to end it.
It was a very beautiful session, as beautiful as
Thank
you
you.
are. And really, truly grateful to you and the IEIRC for organizing this session for all of us. I'm sure part 3 should be coming. We request you once again that if possible, then part 3 can be in the future we can plan. Thank you so much. And I see that even the audience were very participative. So I also thank the participants who are very interactive through the chat. I can see. So once again, thank you, Vanika ji. Thank you so much. EIC Chairman Sir, Hariram Sir, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. So we conclude here and see you again. And with the Wisdom Wednesday next week, I hope. Okay, then. We conclude it here.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. See you again all.
Madam,